Okay, welcome back to creating our enemy class part 2. This is Mr. Rocks, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the code we just wrote. So in the last video, we created some code that was supposed to take this guy, this enemy, and move him towards the point on the stage 200, 300. And so if I go into my library, I can pull out different instances of this guy. He can be moved pointing in any direction. So let's go ahead and rotate this guy. Let's say here, and this guy will rotate him here. So what we did was we created code that was supposed to change the rotation or orientation of my enemy and then move him towards the point 200, 300 on the stage. I want to point out that every one of the instances of this particular class, each one is enemy, all have its own version of this code. So now if I save this guy and run him, all of the three movie clips are going to move towards that same point, and since I haven't given any instructions on what to do after that, they kind of freak out. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and continue on now and take a look at what we can do next. One of the other things that we want to do is we want to add a bunch of waypoints. And so we're not just heading towards one, we're going to go to several. So I'm going to create some waypoints. And to create some waypoints, I'm just going to go ahead and say variable, and I'm going to call this WP1, and this is going to be of type point, which is a class. Remember up here I imported my flash.geometry, and so that definition or that class is inside. I'm not sure if geometry is actually a class name or a package name, but for our purpose, we'll just go ahead and say this is going to be equal to new, and we're going to go ahead and say point. Now the reason I have to put new is that this is a class, not a primitive type. Int is primitive, so we just go ahead and make an instance here, but this is a class, and so to make an instance, I want to go ahead and put parentheses here. And one of the things that you can do with point is you can load values right as you create the instance. And so let's go ahead and create a couple of points along the stage. Let's go to the far right and say we'll go down 500, I'm sorry, over 500, and we'll go down, maybe let's say 350. Okay, and now I'm going to do another point. So that's the first point my guys are going to go to, and just to make sure we're doing this right, we're going to do 2. I'll call this guy waypoint number 2. I'll go ahead and give him a different x value, a little bit closer to the left-hand side, so we'll say 100. And let's say we move him up closer to the top, so we'll say 150. Okay, so now I've got my 2 waypoints, but I have to have them inside. I don't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and put them inside of an array. And so to create an array, I'm going to say variable, I'm going to go ahead and say waypoints. And waypoints is going to be of type array. And I'm going to go ahead and stop that there. Down in the constructor function, that's where I'm actually going to instantiate this. So to create the array in here, I'm going to go ahead and say waypoints, which is the name of my array. I already created it, but I'm going to go ahead and do what's called an instantiation, which is probably a word the nice people at Oracle, when they created Java, made up. In any case, waypoints new array equals new array, and go ahead and put parentheses. Now I've got my array created, but there's nothing inside of it. And so to create or to load this guy, I'm going to go ahead and do a third step here, and I'm going to go ahead and say this guy equals, I'm going to use square brackets, and I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 waypoints in here. So I just go ahead and say waypoint 1 and WP2, and now my 2 waypoints are living inside this array. Okay, that's fine. At this point, I still have my enemy speed. I've got my array of waypoints. I've got 2 waypoints in here, and so I need one other guy. And if you know anything about arrays, you know that arrays have an index for each individual element of the array. And this is true, I think, for every computer programming language I've worked with. I'm new to ActionScript, but I've worked with other languages. I've got to be able to access the index, and so to create that, I'm going to go ahead and create another variable. I'm going to call him, let's call him WP index. So that's for waypoint index, and when I refer to this guy, let's go ahead and make him an int. when I refer to this guy, he is going to point to whichever element. In this case, I only have 2 elements in my array. I think I'll go ahead and start him at 0. Remember, the first element of an array is always 0. At least that's true for ActionScript in Java and C++ and Pascal and Visual Basic and other languages that I've worked with. So let's go ahead and say index, WP index is at 0. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head down and I want to, instead of just saying 200, 300, I'm going to go ahead and put in the value of my waypoint. Now the first waypoint has value 500, 350, so I'm going to go ahead and indicate that. So I've got waypoints is the name of my array. Which one do I want to go to? Now I could just put a 0 in here. 0. Oops, that's the letter O. If I put a 0 in here, that should give me the value of the first point, the first waypoint. The first waypoint, remember, since I loaded this guy in the first element of the array, and this guy has the value 500, 350, my ships should all be moving to the dx and dy value of, or towards this guy, which is the point 500, 300. Let's go ahead and run this and see if we've done everything correctly. No, I did not. Let's go ahead and see what's going on. Did I get an output error, compile error? Let's go back and see what's going on. I got my ships here, and they're not showing up. Interesting. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and take